Yeah, we finally got the lighting figured out. I don't look like the devil. And I thought, what better way to celebrate than by talking about the 10 most important things I did to shave weight out of my backpack. And we're gonna go down in order from least important to most important. And the least important was making all bunch of my stuff sacks DCF. It's in terms of like what I actually saved for weight out of my backpack. It wasn't really a ton of weight versus like the cost of it. This route was not cheap, but I really do like the customization aspect of it. You know, like my cookpot one is just plain, and if I could go back and do it again, I would get something cool and custom on the cookpot one because yeah, I like the customization of this stuff. It's pretty sweet. At number 9, it's what was inside the DCF cook kit bag, and it is my cook kit. I went to a 550 ml pot. I go with the BRS stove, and I throw a little mini Bic lighter in there, and that's all I carry for my cook kit. This was primarily pack size and weight. It didn't really improve comfort for me at all out on trail. I think it actually got a little bit slower. I'm pretty sure my old MSR stove was boiling water a little bit faster than the BRS here. And number 8 is making the change to squeeze style filter. For a few years now, I've exclusively been using squeeze style filters, either the Katadyn Be Free or the Platypus Quick Draw. I love these for the weight savings, for the efficiency. They're a lot faster than what I was using out on trail. I had used pump filters before, and I'd used gravity filters. These are just very, very quick, very efficient. They're lighter, they take up less pack space. They're kind of a no-brainer, really. Like, for anybody getting a water filter out there, like getting a squeeze style filter should be the route that you're going, even if you're not trying to go ultralight. They're just a better option than the pump filters and gravity filters. For number 7, we're talking about clothing. And when it comes to clothing, in terms of saving weight, the big change that I made was I just stopped carrying a lot less clothing. Up until a few years ago, I was the kind of guy that I would carry a full extra set of clothes with me out in the backcountry, and that is a full extra set of hiking clothes. I also carried a full set of sleeping clothes, plus, you know, extra underwear and socks. I carried a lot of clothing, and I've pared it down now to just basically my sleep clothes and underwear and socks, and I've just accepted that I'm gonna wear the same clothes every single day. This saved a bunch of weight out of my backpack. It made my clothes bag a lot smaller, so it took up less pack space. A pretty common choice most people tend to make when it comes to going lighter with their backpack. They eventually realize that they're just carrying a lot of extra clothing, and almost everybody pares their clothes down, and that's what I did. For number 6, we're talking shelters, and we're only really gonna be talking ground shelters here because I didn't really go super lightweight when it came to my hammock setups. They are a lot more luxury than weight savings. I mean, I tried to go lightweight, but I didn't really focus lightweight on my hammock setups. But with my ground shelters is where I really went lightweight. First going to trekking pole shelters. I even got a Dyneema trekking pole shelter. This is my Tarp Tent Pro Trail Lithium. These saved a bunch of weight out of my backpack, and they're smaller shelters than the 2-person shelters I was carrying before, so it saved pack space as well. Obviously, these can be pretty substantial investments, you know, especially when we're talking Dyneema shelters. Like, this was not cheap. Very, very lightweight, like 17 ounces for this tent. Not cheap. My sleeping situation was a big area where I shaved a lot of weight and made some important changes in my backpack and gear loadout. And the second part of the equation next to the shelter was going with a quilt over a sleeping bag. Weight savings, better packability. The customization is pretty sweet too. A lot of the quilt makers out there like UGQ give you the options of going with, you know, different fabrics and colors and patterns and that kind of thing. Pretty cool stuff they're doing with custom quilts nowadays. Like most people going with lighter weight gear, I made the transition to quilts, didn't look back. Added a lot of comfort for me, you know, packability, weight savings, kind of a no-brainer. That's why everybody ends up going with quilts eventually. Eventually, with all that lighter weight gear, you're gonna need a smaller, lighter weight backpack to carry it, and that's where we land on with number 4. I've gotten into the custom backpacks like my ULA, and even frameless ultralight backpacks like this backpack here from Mountain Equipment Company. This is another natural evolution that almost everybody goes through when it comes to going with lighter weight gear. You inevitably go with a lighter weight backpack. As our gear becomes lighter, it becomes smaller, so you end up even going with a smaller backpack. Like this pack here from Mountain Equipment Company, the Ceratus Pace 40. This is a 40-liter backpack. I've used this on overnight backpacking trips with no issue whatsoever. Like, I'm very confident I can get through like a 5 to 6 day backpacking trip with this 40-liter pack here. Third one is pretty big, it's pretty major, very substantial, added a ton of comfort for me out on trail. I was making the switch to trail runners and toe socks. I honestly could have put these in separate categories altogether. They were both game-changing for their own different reasons. But I just decided to combine them together, and you know, they're just gonna sit together because working hand in hand, this combination here, just game changer for me out on trail. I have very narrow feet, and I was really prone to getting blisters in between my toes. My feet tend to sweat a lot. Adding the toe socks gives me that separation between my toes. I don't get blisters on my feet at all anymore. And then the trail runner switch was massive in terms of like my agility and just my overall mobility out on trail. I always found hiking boots very clunky feeling. And like I said, you know, the agility and the extra mobility from trail runners is awesome. No blisters, just game changer. That's why it's number 3. That's right. The damn Smart Bottles is number 2. Why is Smart Bottles the second most important one on the list? For me, it's the second most important one on the list because this was the first one. This was kind of like the first real major thing I did in terms of actively going out and just specifically doing something to make my backpacking gear lighter. This is number 2 because this is what started it. That's kind of tends to be the biggest hurdle for a lot of people when it comes to getting lighter weight with your backpacking gear, is getting started. And for me, that was totally the case. And the Smart Bottles, that was the first change, and that was kind of the catalyst of everything that happened. That's why it's number 2. Now, Smart Bottles was number 2. What could possibly be number 1, right? What could be more important than what got me started on sort of the road to ultralight and getting my backpack lighter? For me, it was when I became intentional with everything that I put in my backpack. Like I said, the bottles was the important one. It was the catalyst. It was what got me started. It's what got me going. But what kept me going was I made the conscious choice to become intentional with everything that I carried in my backpack. I literally had like entire afternoons where I brought up everything I would carry on a backpacking trip, or everything I had carried on the previous backpacking trip I just went on. And I went through everything and I thought about, you know, what was the exact intention of this piece of gear, and if I found commonalities with other pieces of gear, or I just kind of got to the realization that like I could go without this is something I carried and I never used. I just started paring down my gear that way when I became intentional with every piece of gear that went in my backpack. That's the most important thing that I did when it came to lowering my backpacking gear weight. Now, this video may have been on the top 10 things I did, but there were a lot of things I did. I've shot a bunch of different videos. I'll pop a couple up here and here, so check out either of those when you're done with this video. I'm sure you'll enjoy. And as always, guys, I'm Matty. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Go Oilers, go!